Today I'm going to show you how to stretch a canvas print over stretcher bars. Now this is the traditional method using staples and pliers to stretch your canvas, but I'm going to show you some simple tricks that are going to allow you to do this much easier than many other tutorials you're going to see here on YouTube. First, let's go over the supplies. You're going to need a staple gun. There are a couple of different staple guns that you can use, the electric staple gun or this manual staple gun. I would highly suggest to avoid the manual staple gun and spend the extra money to buy the electric stapler. This is going to save your wrists and hands so much effort because these things work really well. This is the lightest one I could find on Amazon, and the links to this and all the other supplies are going to be down in the description. These are the staples that I'm using. They are a 1/4 inch size. They fit in my staple gun. So you'll want to get staples that will fit in your staple gun. You can use basically any size of staples to attach your canvas to the wood stretcher bar. You're also going to need some stretching pliers. It's important to get the actual stretching pliers and not try to use pliers that you have at home because these have this area here that holds the canvas. You'll also need a good pair of scissors because I'm going to show you a method of cutting the corners when you fold them that will make them look so much nicer than doing it without cutting them. You'll also likely need a staple remover like this one, just in case if you mess up and you don't have the staple in a good place and you need to remove it easily. Another thing to have is a hammer in case you don't get the staples all the way down into the wood of the frame, which happens to me fairly often. I just hammer them in the rest of the way. Last two supplies have to do with safety, eye protection and ear protection. So I have my large canvas print. This is a 24 by 30 inch canvas that I got printed by Luma Prints. If you want to know about Luma Prints, they make archival prints. Links to them are in the description, but you can save money if you stretch the canvases yourself rather than have them stretch the canvases and ship them to you because you're saving on the cost of them stretching it and the shipping. And so what I like to do is get a whole bunch of rolled up canvases from them and then stretch them myself. But one of the things that you need to do to get started are making some registration marks. You don't want to skip this process because it's going to be essential for you to be able to place your canvas stretcher frame, the wood bars part, on the back of here in the right location. And this is a great hack because most other people show you to do this by measuring a whole bunch of stuff out with a ruler. I gotta tell you, I don't have time for that. I don't have the patience for it. It hurts my neck to stoop over all these canvases and do all these measurements. So we're gonna do it the easier way. There's two steps to this. The first one is putting registration marks on the side that you can see. But don't worry, you're not putting them on the canvas where anyone's going to see it. You're putting them on this white area over here. So this will be on the back of your canvas. But what you want to do is put a registration mark where your mirrored edge starts. If you have black edges, it's just where the image here, because this area in here is what's going to be on the face of your canvas gallery wrap once it's wrapped. This will be on the side. So what you want to do, you see where this mirror is, you want to create just a line here and then on the top too. And we do this around all of the sides and just exactly where the mirror is. I use a pencil for this. You can use a pen. I like to use a pencil because you don't have to worry about the pen needing to dry or anything. But you can see there's the mirror and there's the lines. We do this on all four sides. The next step is to make some marks on the back. Now what we're going to do is flip this over, and if you have a light table, you can use that for this step, but many of you don't. I don't, so I'm going to use the window. It's easier if you're using a window that doesn't have a screen because you're not going to see the screen coming through it. But what you do is you see how there's the line here and the line here. These are the registration marks that we made on the front. If you visually just kind of look and you're eyeballing this, you can see where they cross here. You're just going to make a little mark. This is going to show you where to line the canvas up on the back once your piece is face down and you're trying to wrap it. And so you can also sometimes see where the mirrored edge is through here, but on this particular piece it's kind of hard to see, and that's why having these registration marks is good. So we're going to do this to all four sides. And you can see this is the registration mark that I drew on the back of the canvas. I wanted to show you once it's lying down on the table because you're not seeing the window casting light through it. So you can see exactly that it's in all four corners. Also, it helps to have a kitty supervisor watching over every step of the process. And if you see his hairs on the canvas, well, that's where they came from. If your stretcher bars have a flat side, you are going to want to have that side up. So you notice that there is the canvas that I have sitting face down on the table. And so then we are putting the flat side up. Now I got these stretcher bars from Dick Blick. If you want to know how to put them together, it's very easy. I have a tutorial. You can check that out in the link in the description. But what we're going to do is see these registration marks that I put on there. We are just literally going to line the canvas up so that it is exactly in between all of those marks. Another thing that you can do to just check to see if you have it in the right location is fold your canvas up and see where those registration marks lie. You see how this one is over like this? It should be right at the edge. So actually this needs to be pushed over somewhere. I didn't have it in the exact right spot. And so this is one thing that you can do to just kind of double check that you have everything going in the places that it needs to be. It's a good idea just to go ahead and put the first staple in by hand. You don't need to use your stretcher on this first one. I don't push really hard when I'm doing it. I leave it so that it sticks up a little bit just in case I need to remove it. But the main idea here is what you do to one side of the canvas, you want to do to the other. And so we're going to put our first staple in by hand, but then this next one we're going to use the pliers for. And pliers on all of the other staples, it's going to make it much easier on your hands. So when you're using stretching pliers, you want to have this little nub down, right? And so it's going to help you have some leverage. And what you can do is put it like this, and you want it against this edge, right? And you just pull. And the more you tilt forward, the more it's going to stretch. When you're stretching a large canvas, you want it to have as much tightness as you can basically physically do without having it rip the canvas. This will allow the entire canvas to be stretched really tight and not have it look really floppy and like waving in the wind and looking unsightly. So we're gonna push down that. And what you want to do is repeat that same amount of tightness through all of the different staples that you're adding if possible, so that your stretch will be even and the tightness will be even and won't be ripply across the canvas. We're just starting with one staple on each side, but we want to make sure to go ahead and put it right in the middle of each side. So we're now doing the other two sides. Be nice if you have a bigger table than mine so you have some places to set your tools. This is one of the negatives to my small studio space, but I'm making it work. If you're going to do larger canvases, you need larger tables to work on, is the main idea. Once you have one staple in all of the sides, what I like to do is just set it up and take a good look at the piece. Make sure the top and the bottom and each side are exactly lined up. One of the things that I've discovered with the canvases that you get made from Luma Prints is they make them the exact size that you order. So this means that you have to be very vigilant over your edges to make sure that the face of the canvas is actually what's showing up on the face. So I always like to check it at this time, because if you need to move anything, it's so much easier to just take out one staple on each side than all of the staples. But mine looks good, so we are going to add more staples now. And you can just choose any side that you want to. What I like to do is every couple of inches, put a staple. We're just adding tension, putting a staple. Okay, adding more tension, staples. And what you do to one side, you want to do to the other side. So we're going to do this side and then the side exactly opposite it. Now, one tip with the corner, if you take this and kind of, when you're pushing it down, kind of twist in just a little bit like this, like kind of like this. I'm overdoing it so you can see the direction to twist. If you do that, it will help you get your corners really tight on the front so that they have a nice stretch. Another thing, you notice I'm not stapling all the way up to the corner. We want to leave a little room here, like about at least this much, because we're going to fold the corners. So we're just going to staple up to about here on this piece. If you have a smaller canvas, leave like 2 inches at least. Next step are to fold the corners. I have the canvas sitting up on its side, but you can do this laying down flat. I'm just using this vantage point to show you how to fold easier. So what you want to do is think about you're folding this thing kind of like you're wrapping the corner of a present. That's what I like to see. So if you were wrapping a present, this would be like one side, this one side, and this one side, and then you'd have these flaps that would fold over. So just put your thumb in here. And you can do this on any thickness of stretcher bar. I have thin stretcher bars that I'm using, but if yours are thicker, you'll have more room to put your thumb in. And then what you want to do is on this other side here, go ahead and fold a flap. So you've got a flap here and a flap here. And now you see, if you just fold this and you don't cut it, it folds over nicely. You can do that. A lot of people do this. But I think this flap under here that shows through is a little unsightly. And you see how it's just all like bulging up? I don't really like that so much. So what I do is take these scissors. Any scissors will work, but I like these small Fiskars scissors. The link to them is in the description. They work really well for this. So what I like to do is cut part of this off right here. And when you cut that, it allows you not to see that flap underneath, but you still have a little bit of bumpiness over there. So what I also like to do is go up here. Now you want to make sure not to cut too deep up in there, but cut just a little bit of this bulk out. And then you see where it folded here? You can even cut some of that off. If you do that, and then you go ahead and refold, it's going to fold down a lot flatter and tighter without any bulging or bulkiness. And so then what I do is repeat this process to all 4 sides. We're going to do this to the other side just so that you can see this a second time, because it is a little bit to learn and understand. And this is why you see how we left some space over here and we didn't have staples. If you had staples like all the way up to the sides, it'd be really hard to do this folding. And so you want to make sure to kind of fold this like this. Now you see how you have your registration mark line? You don't want to fold it so that the line is like out here, because then people are going to be seeing this flap. You don't want people to see the flap. So what I do is kind of fold it in some to where you're always seeing your registration mark down here. And you got your flap here. So we're going to make some nice creases in these, and then we're going to fold it over. And like I said, it's still bulky under there. We're going to fix that. But we can see this is not sticking out. It's in good alignment. This is exactly where we want. So we just make our folds, and then now for the cutting. You see that part, remove that flap underneath, and then we cut a little bit of this off. It's not an exact science as to how much to cut. You just don't want to cut enough that it's going to show through anything from behind it, like just kind of cut enough that it gets rid of some of the bulk. And then what I like to do is see where it folded. Make sure just to kind of cut off some more of that above the fold. It just helps get rid of more bulk, and it folds really nice and flat. Next step is to staple the corners. I like to put a couple of staples down before we actually staple the fold. And when you're stapling the corner, like I showed before, you want to kind of put some torque toward the inside. So you see how my hand is going like this? I'm like over showing you, but you want to kind of try to put some torque when you put the staple in. Now you can grab this with the stretcher pliers and try to stretch it, but sometimes I find it's just easier with these corners just to take them with your hands and stretch, because you can grip it a little bit better. And then I like to put some staples right here at the very edge, just to make sure that this flap doesn't come up. And if you see that any of the staples are sticking up, then this is where you want to hammer them in. And just like the other steps in this process, you repeat this on all 4 corners. And you can see just how nice, once this is stapled, how tight and really good the corner looks. And this is what you want your corners to look like. Tightly folded, not billowing out anywhere. You can see it's stretched. There's no ripples or anything. Now, if you stretch yours and you have like ripples and dents across the surface of the canvas, that means that you did not stretch it tight enough, and you need to take all those staples out and re-stretch it tighter. But if it looks nice and flat on the front, everywhere evenly stretched, then it's good to go. Next step is the wiring. If you want to know how to wire a canvas, I have an entire video I made about that. You can check that out here. All right, thank you so much for watching. Hope this helps. See you next time.